I used to think my wife, Emma, was the perfect woman. Smart, beautiful, and just the right amount of attitude to keep things interesting. We had been married for 7 years, and yeah, things weren't as fiery as they used to be, but I never thought it had come to this. The first time I saw them together, I didn't even realize what I was looking at. It was a random Tuesday night. I had stayed late at work, some last-minute deadlines piling up. By the time I got home, it was already past 10. The house was quiet, too quiet. Usually, Emma would be watching one of her trashy reality shows, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up when I walked in. But that night, the living room was empty. Then I heard it, her laugh. But it wasn't for me. It was muffled, coming from upstairs. My stomach clenched. I crept up the stairs, slow, quiet. The bedroom door was cracked open just enough. I peeked inside. There she was, lying on our bed, tangled up with some man whose face I couldn't see clearly. Her voice was soft, teasing, flirty, the way she used to sound when she wanted something from me. I stood there, frozen. Every fiber of my body screamed at me to kick the damn door open, drag the guy out by his throat, demand answers. But something stopped me. I wanted to see how far she'd go. I pulled out my phone and hit record. The way she whispered to him, the way she touched him, it was too comfortable, too familiar. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was planned, rehearsed. And that's when she said it. He means nothing. You are my number one. So accept whatever I'm doing. I felt something snap inside me. She wasn't talking about him. She was texting me. At that exact moment. She was in our bed with another man, and she had the audacity to lie to my face while doing it. That's when I knew Emma wasn't just cheating. She was playing a game, and I was about to end it. I stood outside that door, my heart pounding, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles went white. The rage inside me was like a slow-burning fire, building, growing, ready to explode. But I held it in. Not yet. Not like this. I needed to be smart. She wanted to play games? Fine. Play too. I stepped back from the door, took a deep breath, and walked downstairs like I hadn't seen a damn thing. My mind was already working through the possibilities. I could burst in there, tear that guy apart, make Emma regret every second of her pathetic little game. But that would be too easy, wouldn't it? Too quick. She needed to feel this. She needed to understand what it was like to be played. I sat on the couch, phone in my hands, staring at the message she sent me. He means nothing. Bullshit. She wasn't just sleeping with some random guy. The way she talked to him, the way she touched him, that wasn't a fling. That was familiarity. That was comfort. That was love. And that was what made it worse. I thought about texting back. Maybe something casual, pretend I was still at work. Keep up the illusion that she was fooling me. But then, I decided on something better. I called her. I heard the bed creak upstairs, the sudden movement. A few seconds later, she answered, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Hey, babe," she said, just a little breathless. "You still at work?" I almost laughed. The audacity, the sheer nerve of this woman. I could hear the other guy moving in the background, probably scrambling to grab his clothes. "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Just finishing up a few things. You okay?" She hummed. "Just watching some Netflix. You know, relaxing. Relaxing." That's what she called it. I tightened my grip on the phone, swallowing the fury that threatened to spill over. "Sounds nice," I said. "I should be home soon." "Oh," she said quickly. "You don't have to rush. Take your time. I bet." I ended the call, staring at the phone in my hand. Every part of me wanted to storm up those stairs and end this right now, but I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. No, Emma didn't deserve rage. She didn't deserve tears. She deserved to be played the way she played me. A plan started forming in my mind. It was simple, clean, and it would make her hurt. I waited another 20 minutes before finally making noise, loud enough for her to hear. The front door opened and shut. My keys jingled as I tossed them onto the counter. I walked up the stairs at a normal pace, my footsteps even, controlled. By the time I reached the bedroom, Emma was alone. The sheets were straightened, the air smelling faintly of her perfume. She was sitting up, phone in hand, pretending to scroll through some nonsense, acting like she hadn't just been on her back for another man in our bed. "Hey, baby," she said with that same sweet smile she always gave me, the smile of a liar. I leaned against the doorframe, studying her. She looked so normal, so casual, like she wasn't betraying me, like she wasn't the reason my entire world had just imploded. "Hey," I said. My voice was steady, calm. "How was your night?" She stretched, rolling her shoulders like she had no care in the world. "Boring. Just watching some reality show garbage. You know how it is. Boring." That's what she called it. My jaw clenched, but I forced a smile. "Yeah, I get it." I crossed the room, leaned down, and kissed her on the forehead. I felt her relax under my touch. She thought she got away with it. Thought she had me wrapped around her little finger. She had no idea. That night, I didn't say a word. I played my part perfectly. I crawled into bed beside her, wrapped my arm around her waist like I always did. She snuggled against me, like she wasn't a lying, cheating, manipulative piece of garbage. As I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't the same man I was a few hours ago. Something in me had broken, and Emma? She was about to find out exactly what that meant. The next morning, I woke up before her. I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. It was almost surreal. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have believed this was just another normal morning. That Emma was still my wife, still the woman who promised to love and respect me. I turned my head, looking at her peaceful, sleeping face. How easy it was for her to rest, completely unbothered, after what she had done, what she was still doing. I could have ended it right there. I could have woken her up, told her I knew everything, watched her scramble for excuses. But that wasn't enough. A fight, some tears, a half-assed apology. It wouldn't even scratch the surface of what I felt. No, she needed to feel real loss, real humiliation. I slipped out of bed without waking her and headed downstairs. My mind was racing through the steps of my plan. This had to be flawless. First, I needed leverage. Emma was careful. She hid her affair well until last night. But if she'd been reckless once, she'd do it again. I needed to see it, record it. I wasn't just going to catch her in the act. I was going to ruin her with it. I grabbed my laptop and got to work. A couple of hidden cameras in the bedroom, one in the hallway, just enough to get what I needed. I wasn't going to waste time looking for old proof. I was going to let her hand it to me on a silver platter. The smell of coffee filled the kitchen as I sat at the table, pretending to read the news. Emma walked in, stretching her arms over her head, wearing one of my t-shirts. The audacity. "Morning," she said, walking over to kiss my cheek. I let her. "Morning." She grabbed a mug, poured herself some coffee, and sat across from me. She scrolled through her phone, probably texting him, right under my nose. "What's the plan for today?" she asked, like everything was normal. I shrugged. "Got some work to do. Might hit the gym later." She nodded, sipping her coffee, her eyes still on her phone. I almost laughed. It was too easy. By the afternoon, the cameras were in place. I acted normal, loving, attentive, oblivious. She had no idea that every step she took in this house was being recorded. And it didn't take long. That night, I told her I had to work late. I kissed her goodbye, watched her smile at me, watched her lie to my face. Then I left. I parked my car a block away and walked back to the house. Quiet, unnoticed. I slipped into the garage, pulled up the live feed on my phone, and waited. Took less than an hour. The door opened. The man walked in like he belonged here. Emma greeted him with a kiss, her hands already all over him. They moved through my house into my bedroom, my bed, and I watched. Not because I needed to see it. Not because I wanted to torture myself. But because this was the last time she was ever going to get away with it. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Emma was humming to herself, making breakfast. She turned, smiling, clueless. "Morning, babe." I smiled back. "Morning." I sat down at the table, casually scrolling through my phone, while she placed a plate in front of me. She sat across from me, sipping her coffee, like she hadn't spent the night defiling our marriage. And that's when I said it. "I know." She blinked. "Know what?" I set my phone on the table and pressed play. The video started. The sound of the front door opening. The unmistakable sounds of her betrayal. Emma's face drained of color. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked at me, then at the phone, then back at me, as if she could somehow convince me I wasn't seeing what I was seeing. "Alex, I cut her off. Save it." I picked up my coffee, taking a slow sip, watching as the reality of the situation sank in. "Pack your shit," I said. "You're done here." Her lips trembled, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "It's not what it looks like." I actually laughed at that. "Really? Because it looks like you had your little boy toy in my house. In my bed." Her eyes darted around like she was searching for an escape. "It was a mistake." I leaned back. "No, Emma. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is spilling coffee on your shirt. What you did, that was a choice. Over and over again." She stood up, her breath shaking. "You're not thinking straight. We can talk about this." I shook my head. "There's nothing to talk about. You chose this. Now you get to live with it." And with that, I stood up and walked out. Emma could rot in the mess she made. She followed me, her footsteps quick and desperate behind me. "Alex, wait. Just listen to me." I kept walking out of the kitchen, down the hall, toward the front door. Every second that passed, her voice grew more frantic. It was almost amusing. Now she wanted to talk. Now she wanted to fix things. I yanked open the door. "You've got 1 hour to get your stuff and get out. I don't care where you go, but when I come back, I want you gone." Her hand shot out, grabbing my arm. "Alex, please. Just stop for a second. We can work through this." I turned to her, taking in the mess of emotions playing across her face. The fake regret. The panic of a woman who never thought she'd get caught. "Work through what, Emma?" I said, shaking her off. "You weren't working through it last night when you had him in our bed. You weren't working through it when you were lying to my face every single day. Don't stand here and act like this is some little mistake that we can fix." Her bottom lip quivered. "I love you." I laughed. Actually laughed. "No, you don't." "I do," she insisted, stepping closer. Her hands clasped together like she was praying. He didn't mean anything, Alex. It was just stupid. It was just a distraction. You are my number one." I shook my head, barely able to stomach her words. "You know what's funny? You actually believe that. You think you love me. But love doesn't look like this, Emma." Her breath was shaky, her hands trembling. "I'll do anything. I'll cut him off. I'll delete everything. I'll go to therapy, whatever it takes." I tilted my head. "You mean you'll do anything now that you've been caught?" She flinched. The silence between us stretched thick and suffocating. Then, like flipping a switch, her whole demeanor changed. The desperate, apologetic wife disappeared. Her lips curled, her eyes darkened, and suddenly, she wasn't begging anymore. She was pissed. "Oh, so you're just perfect, huh?" she snapped. "You're acting like I'm some kind of monster, but let's not pretend you're Mr. Innocent." I arched a brow. "Excuse me? You're so busy playing the victim. But how many nights did you come home late? How many times were you distant? Emotionally unavailable?" She crossed her arms. "Yeah, maybe I made a mistake, but don't act like you were some perfect husband." I let out a slow breath, staring at her in disbelief. "You're actually blaming me?" "I'm saying you weren't paying attention," she yelled. "You were always focused on work, or your own stuff, and I was just supposed to sit around and wait for you to remember I exist?" I let out a sharp laugh. "Wow, so now it's my fault you spread your legs for someone else." Her eyes burned with fury. "You are such an asterisk hole. And you," I said, stepping closer, "are a cheating, lying, selfish piece of garbage." She gasped like I just slapped her. I leaned down, my voice dropping lower. You want to make excuses? Go ahead. You want to shift the blame? Be my guest. But don't stand there and insult my intelligence by pretending this is anything but your doing. For the first time, she had nothing to say. She just stood there, staring at me, lips parted, breathing hard. I grabbed my keys off the table. Like I said, 1 hour. Be gone when I get back. I walked out and slammed the door behind me. I didn't drive far. Just down the street, far enough to be out of sight. I parked, gripping the steering wheel, letting out a long, slow breath. My hands were shaking, not from sadness, not from regret, from rage, from the sheer injustice of it all. And the worst part? She wasn't even sorry. She was sorry she got caught. She was sorry her fun little game had consequences. But actual remorse? No, it wasn't in her. I checked my phone. 40 minutes had passed. Close enough. I drove back, pulling into the driveway. The lights in the house were still on. Good. She was still there. I stepped inside, expecting her to be in the middle of packing. Instead, I found her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she had all the time in the world. She looked up, unbothered. Oh, you're back. I clenched my jaw. I told you to leave. She smirked, tilting her head. And I told you I wasn't going anywhere. Something inside me snapped. I stormed forward, yanking her phone out of her hands and hurling it against the wall. The screen shattered on impact, pieces of glass scattering across the floor. Her eyes widened in shock. Are you and is serious, Alex? I didn't say a word. I just grabbed her wrist, pulled her to her feet, and marched her toward the door. She struggled, shoving against me. Let go of me, you psycho. I opened the door and shoved her outside. We're done, Emma. She turned, her eyes filled with pure, livid rage. You're gonna regret this, she spat. You think you can just throw me out like trash? I met her gaze, my voice calm, final. That's exactly what I'm doing. And with that, I slammed the door in her face. She pounded on the door, fists hammering against the wood like some kind of crazed lunatic. I could hear her muffled shouts from outside, her voice shrill with anger. Alex, open this and the door. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly. I should have expected this. Emma never handled losing well. She was the kind of woman who always had control, who always had people wrapped around her finger. The moment that power was stripped away, she unraveled. You don't get to do this, she screamed, her fists still slamming against the door. You don't get to just throw me out like some pathetic side piece. I'm your wife. I let out a dry chuckle. Funny, I don't remember wives bringing other men into their husband's bed. Silence. For the first time since this whole thing started, she shut up. Good. I walked away from the door, heading into the kitchen. I needed a drink, something strong. My hands still felt like they were buzzing, my head pounding from the sheer emotional whiplash of it all. I grabbed a bottle of whiskey, poured myself a glass, and took a slow, burning sip. Car engine rumbled outside. I peeked through the blinds and saw her climbing into her car, slamming the door shut. Even from here, I could see her gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles went white. Then, just before she backed out of the driveway, she turned and looked directly at the house. No, directly at me. Her lips curled into the slightest smirk. And just like that, she was gone. Something about that look settled uneasily in my gut. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I downed the rest of my drink, letting the alcohol burn through the anger. I should have been relieved. She was out of my house, out of my life. But something in my bones told me this wasn't over. And I was right. The next morning, I woke up to a barrage of texts. Emma, you made a huge ing mistake. Emma, you think this is over? You're delusional. Emma, have fun explaining things when people find out what kind of man you really are. I scoffed, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes. What kind of man I really am. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. I wasn't the one sneaking around. I wasn't the one destroying our marriage with lies and betrayal. I put my phone down, shaking my head. I didn't have the energy for her bulls ****. Not today. But then the phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Emma. It was my boss, Greg. Hey Alex, we need to talk. Call me ASAP. A strange feeling crept into my stomach. I dialed his number, pressing the phone to my ear. He picked up on the first ring. Alex, what the hell is going on? I frowned. What are you talking about? Greg sighed, frustration thick in his voice. I just got off the phone with HR. Emma called them. She told them she's filing a harassment complaint against you. I nearly dropped the phone. What? She's saying you've been sending her threatening messages, stalking her, showing up at her job. She's even got evidence. Screenshots, texts, some real, some fake. She's going all in, man. My jaw clenched so hard it ached. That lying. Greg cut me off. Look, I know this is bullsh***, but corporate takes this kind of thing seriously. You need to get ahead of it. Fast. I gripped the phone tighter, my pulse hammering in my ears. I should have known. I should have known she'd pull something like this. Emma was a lot of things, but stupid wasn't one of them. She was calculated, manipulative, and now she was trying to destroy me. I hung up without another word, my mind already racing. I needed to fix this. I needed to stop her before she took everything from me. But how? Then it hit me. If Emma wanted to play dirty, fine. But she was about to find out that I could play dirtier. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up my email. I started typing, my fingers moving fast over the keyboard. To HR. Subject, urgent, false accusations and defamation. I laid it all out. The affair, the lies, the way she was retaliating because I kicked her out. I attached screenshots, actual real texts from Emma, showing her taunts, her threats. I made it crystal clear. She was lying, and I had the proof. I hit send, my heart pounding. Then, I picked up my phone and called a lawyer. Because if Emma thought she could ruin my life and walk away unscathed, she was dead wrong. I sat there, phone still in my hand, fingers clenched around it so tightly I could feel the plastic casing start to bend. The rage was simmering just beneath the surface, a boiling, barely contained thing that threatened to spill over at any second. Emma was really trying to destroy me. And for what? Because she got caught? Because I didn't roll over and take it like every other fool she's manipulated? I took a slow breath, trying to keep my head clear. The lawyer picked up on the second ring. Alex. Yeah. Listen, I need your help. I didn't waste time. I laid it all out. Emma's cheating, her retaliation, the false claims she was making to my job. My lawyer, Richard, listened without interrupting, letting me get it all out. When I finally finished, there was a long pause. Then he sighed. She's playing dirty, he said. Real dirty. No ****T, I muttered. But she messed up, he continued. The texts she sent you? The threats? That's evidence. And the moment she made false claims against you, she committed defamation, maybe even fraud if she forged any messages. If your company fires you over this, we can sue for wrongful termination. That was something, at least. What do I do now? First, don't respond to her. At all. Don't give her any ammo. Second, we get ahead of this. I'll draft a formal response to HR, attach everything you sent me, and put them on notice that any action against you will be met with legal consequences. Third, I'll file a cease and desist letter to Emma, warning her that if she keeps this up, we take her to court. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Okay, do it. Already on it. Sit tight, Alex. And don't let her get inside your head. Easier said than done. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. My heart was still hammering. I should have felt relieved that I had a plan, that I had someone in my corner. But the unease hadn't left me, because I knew Emma, and she wasn't the type to go down without a fight. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. HR responded to my lawyer, acknowledging my side of the story. No action was taken against me, at least not yet. Emma hadn't texted me again, and she wasn't answering calls from mutual friends. Felt like the calm before the storm. Then one night, I heard a noise outside. It was late past midnight. I had been sitting on my couch, staring blankly at the TV, half-empty whiskey bottle on the table. I wasn't even watching the show playing. It was just noise, background static to keep me from drowning in my own thoughts. The sound came again, a rustling near the front door. I stood up slowly, my pulse picking up. Then a soft knock. A chill crawled up my spine. I moved to the door and peered through the peephole. Emma. She stood there in the dim porch light, looking disheveled. Her hair was a mess. Her makeup smudged like she had been crying, but her expression? That wasn't regret. That wasn't sadness. It was calculated. I hesitated for only a second before unlocking the door. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, brushing past me like she still had a right to be here. The scent of expensive perfume mixed with alcohol hit me instantly. She was drunk. I shut the door, crossing my arms. "What the hell are you doing here?" She turned, swaying slightly on her feet, then gave me a slow, lazy smirk. "What? No welcome home kiss?" I laughed. I actually laughed. It was bitter and sharp. "You lost the right to this home the moment you spread your legs for someone else." Her expression flickered, just for a second. Then, just as quickly, she put on that mask again. The one she always wore when she was manipulating people. "Alex," she purred, stepping closer. "I made a mistake." I clenched my jaw. "No, Emma. Forgetting an anniversary is a mistake. Leaving the oven on is a mistake. Cheating? That's a choice." She rolled her eyes. Rolled her F*ing eyes. ***. "Oh, come on," she said, her voice suddenly shifting, sharper now, annoyed. "You're seriously still on this? God, you're so dramatic." Dramatic. I stared at her, a hollow kind of disbelief settling in my chest. She wasn't sorry. Not even close. "You're insane," I muttered. "What do you even want?" She blinked, her head tilting slightly. "You," I scoffed. "Yeah? Well, 2F******** NG bad." She didn't flinch. Instead, she smirked. Then, before I could react, she grabbed the hem of her dress and yanked it up. I turned away so fast I nearly tripped. "Jesus, Emma, are you serious?" "Oh, relax." Her voice dripped with amusement. "It's not like you haven't seen it before." I didn't even look at her. "Put your damn dress down." She let out a breathy little laugh, like this was some game to her, like none of it mattered. But then her voice dropped. "You know, Alex," she murmured, stepping closer, "you don't have to be alone. We can just forget about everything. Start over." I turned back to her slowly, letting her think, for just a second, that maybe I was considering it. Then I smiled, and said the two words that wiped that smug look right off her face. "I recorded that." Her entire body stiffened. I pulled my phone from my pocket, holding it up. "You really thought I was dumb enough to let you pull some ST like this without covering my ass?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "You showing up here? You trying to seduce me, just so you can spin some bull story about how I forced myself on you?" "Not happening." Her lips parted. I could see the exact moment she realized she lost. For the first time, she had nothing to say. I took a step forward, watching her swallow hard. "Get the F******* out." She didn't move at first. But then, slowly, her hands curled into fists at her sides. Without another word, she turned and walked out the door. I locked it behind her, my pulse still racing. Then I pulled up my lawyer's number. Because if Emma wanted a war, she just got one. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing nonstop. I reached for it groggily, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Calls, texts, notifications piling up like an avalanche. Something was wrong. I unlocked my phone, and the first thing I saw made my stomach drop. "Emma, you really thought you won? Cute. Check Facebook." My blood went cold. I opened the app, and there it was, the nuclear bomb she had been waiting to drop. A long, tearful post from her. "I never thought I'd have to share this, But I can't stay silent anymore. After years of emotional abuse, manipulation, and threats, I finally found the courage to leave.